Hey, hello, good morning. Good morning. Good. I mean, it's morning where Kirsty is, so I don't know why I wanted to say good morning because it is definitely not the morning here, but I'm gonna do my best to do like a 30-minute read, maybe 20. I know 20 is kind of pushing it. 15 would be like what? But I'm trying to stay awake a little bit longer so I don't wake up too early and I'm up all night. So I've been playing a lot of God of War lately, like a lot, very, very many hours, and I've been enjoying it. And so today I was at work and I was like, oh, I could use like the Runic Tarot. And for some reason, I've been using this deck here and there because I've gotten so many recently that like I want to use like I want to really get into like a few of them. But then for some reason today, I remember that I have literally the perfect deck to go with this. I don't know how this whole time this deck didn't pop into my mind. But today I remembered that I have the Yggdrasil Norse divination cards. So we're gonna get an Yggdrasil person and then we're gonna clarify it with the tarot. And that's it. I feel like I was gonna say something else, but I don't remember what it was. I was trying to watch that video back. So when I went live, I had it playing on my iPad, and it looked pretty good on my iPad. Um, but when I'm watching it back, it's like struggling. It's like buffering or taking a while to load, and the quality like drops. And I was like, I don't know if that's what it looked like when it was live, but you might see more of those. You probably won't. You probably will. You know, who knows? And then I kept playing the game for like, I feel like it was a solid 10 to 15 minutes, not realizing that the stream had cut out when it cut out. And then I pull it up on my iPad and I'm like, oh, okay. So, anyway, whatever is to come through, let it come through. I'm not extremely well. I'm not even well. I would I would say I'm fairly ignorant when it comes to Norse mythology or the Norse pantheon. But I love how God of War handles it. Okay, I just wanted to mention that. Maybe. I mean, this might be a short video. I want to get this one first. I could always pull a card. And then I was like, oh, I could do three. That's too much. Three is too much. Well, if I do three, and I'll give this five shuffles to. There we go. Three. I'll still do five. Four. Five. Okay. Somebody flipped over. I was gonna say somebody flipped over and then was at the bottom of the deck when I stopped. Oh, of course it is. It's so the card flipped over in the middle of the deck, and then I finished out the five shuffles, and then I was flipping through the cards to see where it was, and it was at the bottom of the deck, like I just showed you, right? This card was at the bottom of the deck before I started shuffling. Like I pre-shuffled before I clicked go live, and it was at the bottom of the deck. Then it flipped over, reappeared at the bottom of the deck. It's Heimdall. The first of the fifth realm, or the fifth of the first realm. I don't remember. It's Heimdall. Heimdall is. This is hilarious just because of the Gate of Sahakiel. But we're gonna not necessarily go down that. We're gonna try to remain open today. There are some runes on the portal. on the gateway. Gateway, opportunity, and warning is Heimdall. He holds Gallarhorn, which is blown. When it's blown, it signifies the beginning of Ragnarok. And I was trying to see what rune is on the keystone of this archway, but his sword is kind of blocking it a little bit. Bottom of the deck under Heimdall is Bragi, poetry, language, and expression. So Heimdall is the first of the fifth realm, because I know Bragi isn't the first. I love that Heimdall is the first of the fifth realm, because 5 being that number of change, it gives him the very appropriate space of like heralding a change, right? He's the first one. So let's get some of these for Heimdall, please. Get some of these for Heimdall, please. Or should I read them in the book first? I'll read them in the book first. From what I know about Heimdall, he guards the Bifrost Bridge. He's also gifted with like sight. I think it said that like he can see or hear like a single blade of grass like growing or rustling throughout all the realms or whatever. I have encountered him in the game, and I'm not the biggest fan. But he's really good at reading intentions. So this will be interesting in the game. There's some more stuff that he did. I think like Loki stole Freya's necklace. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure it's not. Loki stole something from Freya. I'm pretty sure. And Heimdall found Loki in the form of like a seal. So he turned into some animal. I'm pretty sure it was like he turned into something that like eats seals or beats up seals, and he got it back. I think Heimdall, as far as what I know, he also, from some of the stuff that I've come across, it's almost like he exists outside of the pantheon, kind of like how the Norns exist outside of the pantheon, um, from somewhere beyond the Nine, kind of, but not really. And I guess in existing beyond the pantheon, it's like he's not a child of Odin or in the giant whatever. I mean, I guess he. How does that work? How did he come to serve Odin? I don't know. Anyway, Heimdall or Heimdaller, gateway, opportunity, and warning. Heimdall is the guardian of the bridge Bifrost. Guardian of the bridge Bifrost, guarding the connection between Midgard and Asgard. Heimdall is therefore the gateway between the seeker and the main aspiration, and is an extraordinarily important card in the deck in that respect. Heimdall is considered to be the guardian of the gods and humans. He lives in where he lives, Himnabjorg, which is at the root of the bridge. Heimdall has golden teeth and supernatural hearing and sight. He can hear, this is where I got it from. He can hear the grass grow, the wool on the sheep too, and can see as far as 100 miles in both darkness and light. He doesn't need sleep and is ever vigilant. He is born to 9 mothers, signaling 9 new beginnings, and has many names and many faces. He has a huge horn called Gallarhorn, which he blows to warn the gods of giants. Heimdall and Loki are mortal enemies and battle fiercely during Ragnarok. The card represents an opening for the seeker, a direct link to an opportunity, great prospects for the seeker, and a strong and uninterrupted connection within the seeker's aspiration. Heimdall can be called on for vigilance and for an opening or opportunity. Okay, openings, opportunities, vigilance, Loki. If Loki is that element of deceit, ooh girl, who is this? The Five of Wands. I've actually seen the Five of Wands. I feel like the last time I used this deck. The Five of Wands and the Hanged Man. East. Yeah, because it was Tyrion East. There was a loss of a sense of direction or something like that. These are the two cards we have. Bottom of the deck is the Sun. And in the Sun, we see Soul. But the Sun here it's a chariot energy because she's drawing a chariot. And I was going to say it's a chariot that's not like many. But these two horses are still. Okay, I thought about horses earlier today. And the reason why you put blinders on them is because if something like subtly enters their field of vision, they get startled and then whatever, right? So you put blinders on them to help them focus. And then we have Heimdall, which is about a new opportunity, but he also brings warning. Mortal enemy of Loki, which is trickery and deception and not quite full truths. Loki's also put in a challenging position at the same time, but still, right? And I mentioned that because of the blinders that you put on the racehorses so that they don't get distracted, so that they can focus on the task at hand and perform their best. This is an interesting imagery between the Hanged Man and this Five of Wands in particular, because this Five of Wands is tied up. And this Five of Wands is tied up in a way that we don't necessarily see the Eight of Swords tied up in. With the Eight of Swords, through imagery or through its typical meaning, it's a bondage that doesn't necessarily exist. It's all in the mind. It's a game of perception. But this seems like reality. And this hangman has the tools to free themselves. So it's like, well, did the Five of Wands like bust themselves out? Question mark. The Ten of Cups is under. The Ten of Cups is under the Sun. This is also interesting. I also got this book. I feel like I should just read out of the book. It just like it reads like Heimdall is the one that exists beyond the nine. It feels like there's this, because of her expression, it feels like this is a part of self, and it's a really really fierce part of the self that has been um, restrained for whatever reason. And as I say that, it's like break in case of emergency. Like this is break in case of emergency, and it's almost like, well, it's an emergency, so it's broken, and she gets released, and because there's something like the last time I saw this Five of Wands, we went from the tier rune or what TYs or whatever to East, and there's like the point on the arrow was gone, and that's why it was like there was a loss of a sense of direction, or that's how I interpreted it last time. But this time, it's this like as above, so below, as within, so without, because part of the arrow is up here and the other part of the arrow is down here as it moves from east to, I forget what that rune is. Wait, is that you? It might be you. The U rune. But like look at how it's basically on his heart. It comes from within. Now this hanged man, that's also interesting. Because it's like he's falling out of the sky in his head. Like the hangman is typically depicted with the thing around his head, right? That symbolizes enlightenment or whatever. But it's like as he's falling in front of the sun. And again, she's there. Like when I looked at these fires, like these fires felt like the ones on the manes of her horses and these up here. So it feels like it's something, and it's the Five of Wands. The Five of Wands is typically an energy of like contention and competition. It's like it's something that's evoked under some sort of duress. Excuse me, break in case of emergency. Heimdall is here with his Gallarhorn signaling the start of Ragnarok, right? Now, strength is under the Ten of Cups, the Ten of Horns. The Ten of Horns is under the Sun card at the bottom of the deck. And because Heimdall is holding Gallarhorn, I was like, I wonder what, like, if a horn card will come out. Well, the horn card that comes out is the Ten of Horns. And then it's the Elk rune. I mean, we see a few runes, actually. East, Elks. I think that's either Candle or Condor, but right there. It's almost like the battle is already won, though. Because I feel like typically, like, this would be the Einherjar, the ones that the Valkyries deemed as worthy in Valhalla, waiting for Ragnarok to begin. But it feels like this is the celebration feast after its conclusion. And it's because I think this sort of vibe came out recently, where it's like, and I feel like I thought about that earlier, but it's this energy where it's like we're all geared up and ready to go. We're ready to fight, but then we're told that there is no fight. Yeah, it did come out recently because I mentioned how Russ talked about, I think it's in October, Whenever the Romans are in their conquering season, they like, invoke the energy of Aries and or Mars. And they go out and they conquer, but when they come home, they like get rid of all that because you don't need soldiers at home, right? And so it was that like for some of us, we might have to adjust to things not being as challenging or things not being as difficult, to things not being a fight. For some of us, maybe there are other things that we already sort of wanted to do or other things that we'd rather do than sort of partake in that. But I think too, it's almost like just like to bring it down into the 3D, it's almost like if your whole life or if for a significant part of your life you thought that one thing was like it for you. And so everything you did was to maximize your chances of success in that area. Or it's just like it's a belief that you held, but all of a sudden it's changing. I didn't necessarily expect this because it feels like Heimdall. Hey, Holly, how you doing? It feels like Heimdall is emerging from the portal. Like this feels very much like a page energy, but just in the sense that it carries a message. Maybe a knight. It's a knight that's carrying a message. Heimdall's emerging from the portal sword rays instead of horn rays, saying that like, Ragnarok is canceled. Like we don't have to do it anymore. Now, of course, theoretically there could be someone that's like, oh, well, I lived my life for Ragnarok. I fought on the battlefield, was deemed worthy. I trained my whole life, died, and I've been preparing in my afterlife for this. So Ragnarok is going to happen. What do you mean there's no Ragnarok? And so then with the Five of Wands and the Hanged Man, it's like, this is the thing that we were so prepared for. Like we were ready to unleash this thing. And then it's like immediate hangman energy because you don't need it anymore. It's almost like if there's someone that upset you and you never say anything, but you play the conversations over and over and over in your head of like, next time I see this person, I'm going to really give them what for, and I'm going to tell them exactly how I feel and blah, 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 blah. But the next time you see that person, they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry for like how I treated you. Like, you didn't deserve that. And I was like, this is the reason, like, these are all the things that I was going through. And I know it doesn't excuse my behavior, but like, I just wanted to let you know that I'm sorry. And then in that moment, it's like, it's almost like it can introduce like internal conflict almost in a way where it's like, I was so ready to like attack, but now I'm like, it's a question of whether or not you let it go. And I love that the sun and the Ten of Cups is at the bottom of the deck because there are definitely greener pastures. There are definitely better things to move on to. It's a little warmer here today, so I don't know how I feel about it honestly. I like the cold, but I don't know. And I think this is a transmutation of this energy. This changes because this is the energy when it was ready for battle, when it was ready for war, right? But that doesn't happen. And if we are able, we can take all of that. It's a very like Mars heavy energy, but Mars heavy just in like, it's something that's brimming with potential that's like ready to be used for something. It's like a tightly compressed spring that's just waiting for the slightest bump or release to like expand. But it's like there's an opportunity to, instead of expanding in the direction of like conflict, war, whatever, Ragnarok, it can put all of that towards something beautiful. And this is the something beautiful that we can choose to do with that. Strength is under that 10 of Cups again. And in the Strength card, we see what may be the same character. Sort of like cuddling up to the bear. And it reads like, she could be this berserker where she can invoke the power of a polar bear and just like go ham on the battlefield. You know what I mean? But she's not. So Heimdall brings a message of opportunity that also comes with a warning. Loki in this case would be, I mean, it's I was kind of talking about this with my mom the other day, because like it reads like it could be a devil energy, but more often than not, like devil energy, like that's how temptation works. Temptation doesn't work if you don't want the thing. You know what I mean? It's like, can I tempt you with a Caesar salad? No, you can't. You can try, but I'm not gonna want that salad. You know what I mean? Can I tempt you with, I don't know, name anything that I don't want or that you don't want? It's like, no. Like, that's not appealing to me at all. So there is something within the self that devil energy like appeals to, that gets us to do whatever. And I think a lot of times when we're in a certain mindset, I don't want to say mindset, when we're in a certain mental state, it can be easier to fall into some things than like if we were in a better place, I mean, and that's like a duh, like that's a no-brainer, because it's like the divine is always there too. More often than not, if we're going through something that's unpleasant, there are opportunities or there are small things that we can enjoy, but it's just that we're so consumed in the unpleasantness of it all that we don't even see it. But anyway, it's a message of opportunity. Bragi at the bottom of the deck, poetry, language, and expression. I think that's what that's like this. It's the expression of this Five of Wands. We can express it in this way. -14 already. Oh my gosh. Oh, snap. Well, there you go. The Aurora makes it worth it. I mean, I guess that's a question. Does the Aurora make it worth it? Because you're the one in the temperatures. I think that's the biggest point, or that's the biggest sort of like factor in influencing the outcome. Because again, it's that heavy Martian energy, it's the compressed spring, but how do we express it? The bottom of the deck is saying we express it in this way: merriment, compassion for self. It's like a compassion and an understanding and a patience with self that makes us available to see and experience the better. And then we become a driving force in our own life. And it's not that it's solely us, right? Because we're not necessarily the fire, we're not necessarily the horses. This is us aligning to this. And it's like there is this almost solar explosive energy between these two suns that we see. The one behind soul and the one behind his head. But with that being the U rune, and even with this energy, it's like it's something that's deep within. It's deep inside, or it's very. I want to use the word basal, but I feel like that's not necessarily the word that I want. But it feels like it's right. So that's it. So I guess it'd be a good time to almost like get really clear on sort of what you want and what you desire. And to just ask yourself what's worth not going after it, or what's worth detouring. And it's not that we're supposed to be perfect or whatever. And sometimes the detour is always the path if that's the choice that you make. There is a certain element of suspension with this hangman though. So 31:15. We're gonna leave it there. I hope you'll have an amazing whatever whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. And I hope that as these opportunities present themselves, that you have the capacity and ability to not only see them but to take them. I hope for you the presence and mental clarity to choose how you express rather than being like triggered into a certain expression or another. So thank you, Holly and Janelle. And I will see y'all later. Good night, or good morning, or good evening, or good afternoon, or good Tuesday, or good Wednesday, or good whatever, whenever.